Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Aiden and welcome back to yet another video here on the channel. In today's video guys, I'm coming at you with a little review of Valheim, which is one of the most popular games on Steam as of right now. It's been absolutely blowing up recently, so I thought I would bring you guys a short little video explaining my thoughts and my initial impressions of this game. I've been playing the last 2 days, so I thought hey, maybe I'm qualified to tell you whether you should go ahead and pick it up for yourself or even explain to you guys if you shouldn't. But before we go ahead and get into the video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe if you are new for even more content just like this one. We upload a ton of content here on this channel on a wide variety of games. And hey, if you guys are interested in Valheim, I would be down to cover it as well. So let me know if you want more videos on Valheim down in the comment section below by just leaving me a comment and telling me what you want to see next. I have been recording my first playthrough just in case I wanted to upload it here to this channel, so let me know if you guys want to go ahead and see that in the near future. But yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and actually hop into my review. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and break down what exactly Valheim actually is, and then I thought I would go over all the pros and the cons, and then of course give you my final verdict on whether I think you guys should go ahead and pick up the game for yourself, or if you should just skip over it. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive into what exactly Valheim actually is. So what exactly is Valheim? Valheim is basically an RPG survival craft sandbox game that is set in the Viking time period. You basically put in a randomly generated world called the 10th world, and you can either play it solo or co-op with your buddies up to a party of 10. You can either build bases, craft weapons and armor, or even explore the open world to see what exactly it actually has to offer. So first things first, when you get loaded into the game, you get to go ahead and create your character. You have the option of male or female, and then of course you have a couple different customization options to go alongside your character, like skin tone, hair, beard, hair tone, and blondness. After that, you get to go ahead and create your world name and of course the seed, because it's very similar to Minecraft or other randomly generated games like Ark or Rust. Once you go ahead and do all of that, you get put into the game and you get brought in by a giant raven who drops you in next to all of these pillars that actually indicate the bosses that will be in the game. But I'll go ahead and talk about all of that later in this video, so stay tuned for that. If you wander around a little bit, there's a slightly less huge bird sitting on one of the pillars named Hugin, who will actually go ahead and basically welcome you into the 10th world. And then after that, you're free to roam the world and do whatever you please, but the ultimate objective and the core objective is to slay these bosses known as the Forsaken in order to basically become the best Viking warrior out there and ascend to Valhalla. But of course, you don't actually have to do that. They are just bosses similar to those in Minecraft or Ark. But essentially, that's the core premise of the game. And with that being said, I feel like I've explained what exactly Valheim actually is. Now let's go ahead and dive into the pros. Kicking it off with one of my favorite things within any game is definitely the art style. Absolutely love it when a game actually blends together pixelated graphics with lush, light rays and beautiful colors. I think it makes everything just stand out and it's so vibrant. And Valheim does a perfect job of actually mixing all of those graphic styles that I love within other games together to make everything just look really cool. And I get to play this game in some insane graphics on my PC with all of the highest settings on, and I still run at, I would say, a solid 60 frames per second. There are some dips which I'll talk about later in this video, but other than that, it feels really, really nice. The sounds and just overall effects in the environment also stand out a lot to me. It really gets you immersed in this world, and hearing the wind, the trees, the bushes, and even something as simple as just, your footsteps like treading through the grass and dirt is just something that this game does so well. It's absolutely insane. The combat I really like. I mean, there's some issues with it that I'll talk about in the cons section, but overall I really do enjoy it. Now probably my favorite thing is definitely the crafting. I love the crafting in general in any game, and this game I feel like does it very, very well. It's fast, it's easy to learn, there's a ton of upgrades that you can go ahead and put into it, and as someone who loves the creativity side of the survival games, this is probably one of the main selling points for me. me. And hey, if you like Minecraft or like Grounded or even Ark, you know, this is definitely going to be a very fun experience for you because the building and crafting side of things feels very similar to that in those games. Now, I'm not gonna lie, in my current playthrough, I have a massive base. You know, I absolutely love it. It's probably the thing that I've spent the most time doing in this game so far, and it feels really good to come back from, you know, exploring for quite a long time, just to be able to go ahead and chill in this base by myself and with some friends, you know, to just basically take a moment and chill after defeating some of the bosses. The next thing I want to talk about is the enemy variety, because there is an absolute ton of enemies within this game, and personally I really like it. So far I've encountered trolls, skeletons, wolves, and so much other, but I don't want to spoil too much for you guys because that would just be rude. But just believe me when I say there is a lot of enemy variation, and every single enemy that I've encountered so far has a completely different playstyle, and you're gonna have to tackle each one of them in a different way, and it really spices up the content in this game, and I think you guys will really like it. And on top of that, every single enemy within this game has its own unique drop, which will actually be used in the crafting system, which is actually insane as well. Now, the crafting system is a little bit different from those of other games. You know, in other survival games, you're able to basically go ahead and get everything pretty quickly. However, within this game, there is going to be quite a lot of things that you're actually going to need to go ahead and do to get some of the base fundamentals, like something like a furnace. For example, you'll be able to head into caves and basically get these things called Surtling cores, and with 5 of them you can actually go ahead and make a furnace and other machines. And personally, I think that's just a little bit cooler than collecting 9 pieces of cobblestone. But yeah, I just think the crafting is quite well done. Like I mentioned earlier, there is quite a bit of bosses that you actually have to go ahead and defeat. Each boss is like its own enemy. It has its own unique ability that you're gonna have to go ahead and tackle in a different way each time, and it really feels like a boss fight, unlike some of the other survival games where the bosses just feel like some sort of other type of enemy that you have to go ahead and take that's in your way. You know, these bosses are huge, they look really cool, they look very scary, and I think they are very well done within Valheim. When you defeat the bosses, you'll be able to actually take whatever they have and basically bring it back to the starting area where the raven actually dropped you off, and basically hang up the trophy on one of the shrines, and it'll go ahead and give you an ability. For example, one of the abilities you can actually get is to basically run and jump 60% more than you could before, and I think that's a really cool ability. You get it for actually defeating this huge elk-like creature, but of course I don't want to spoil too much, so I'll leave that for you guys to actually go ahead and discover. And speaking of skills, another thing that I really like within this game is you actually can level up basic necessities as simple as just cutting down trees. You know, say you go through and, you know, take out an entire forest with an axe. You will most likely gain like 10 to 15 levels on that axe, and you'll be much more efficient with that axe in the future, which will allow you to actually go through and actually hack down some trees a lot faster. Alright guys, so that's actually going to go ahead and wrap it up for the pros section. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the cons that I've had with this game so far. So let's go ahead and move on to that section. So as I mentioned within the pros, the combat is good, but it could be a little bit better. So far, I've been using the bow the most out of all of the weapons because sometimes when I'm going against quite a bit of enemies, the melee attacks feel kind of stiff, but that could just be me coming from playing a lot of fast-paced first-person shooters or first-person RPGs, which result in me getting very used to how fast-paced they are. In this game, you know, you'll have to go ahead and take it at a little bit of a slower pace if you want to go ahead and tactically take on each situation and tactically take out each enemy. One thing I don't really like about this combat system is that you have to be on the same level, you know, height-wise as the enemy in order for that actual attack that you use using your melee weapon to actually affect them. So say an enemy is a little bit higher than you, if you swing at them, you're gonna miss. It's not actually gonna damage them. I think a good way that they could actually go ahead and fix this is just by making it so say you hit like their feet or something, you know, or their legs. You could damage their legs and maybe it won't do as much damage damage as, say, you know, getting a critical hit on them, like getting a headshot or something. But hey, keep in mind this game is just early access, so something like this could most likely get put in this game at any point in time, which would be really cool. But as I said, the bow and arrow is the weapon that I've been using the most, so I feel like I can talk about it the most in terms of how good or bad it is. And I really do believe that the bow and arrow is probably the best thing to use within this game, because it's just more versatile, you can do more damage with it, and of course you have that range and ability to simply hit the enemy at any point or location that they're at. Enemy spawns are another thing that I've seen some complaints about, and I've actually had some complaints about as well. Sometimes enemies just appear out of nowhere for me. I'm not really sure exactly why. There is spawners in the game, which are these some sort of like glowing purple things. However, sometimes it just feels like enemies appear out of thin air, and that actually catches me off guard quite a bit of times. But maybe that's just me being annoyed at just a certain feature in the game that's meant to be there. However, I think maybe they should tune it a little bit and just make it less random, and maybe add more spawners into the game, because if you don't know, you can actually go through and destroy the spawners, and that prevents them from spawning again. I just think that they should lessen the randomness of the spawns, and I think it would be a lot better. Now the next con, I guess, could just be a personal complaint of mine, and maybe it's just because I'm not at the stage where I can technically build these huge boats yet, but the rafting abilities that I have and the raft that I actually have just isn't the most smooth experience ever. It feels very slow, and I just don't really like it. I'd much rather just travel on foot, except there's some areas where, you know, rafting would come in handy, like traveling across large points of water. And I mean, it's taken me upwards to like 15 or 20 minutes to get across a body of water that, you know, if it was land, it would have taken me like 2 minutes or 3 minutes to actually get across. Once again, maybe it's because I'm not at that stage where I can make these huge boats yet. However, I do think maybe they should make the rafts a little bit better, because they're just so inconsistent right now, and I don't really like them. One of my biggest complaints is definitely the inventory within this game. It is quite messy in my opinion, at least if you compare it to some of the other survival games that I've played. I don't really know exactly why they do this. I feel like the inventory is also kind of small, but maybe that's just a personal complaint. Basically, when you hit tab, there's just so much going on, and I'm just not the big fan of it. It'll bring up your crafting menu, it'll bring up your skills, your achievements, it'll bring up what's in chests, it'll bring up what's over in your actual inventory, and I just feel like there's too much going on at one point in time, and I don't really like it. But hey, once again, that could just be a personal complaint of mine. I just think it needs to be cleaned up a little bit in order for me to like it a little bit more. Probably my biggest complaint ever is the fact that armor takes up an inventory slot instead of an armor slot, and you know, that's okay, it's not the biggest deal, but I wish they would create like some sort of separate category for armor, so I could, you know, move that out of my inventory and have like 4 more items there, just to make it a little bit easier, and just to make it so I don't have to drop as many items just to play the game. Because obviously armor is an essential item for the bosses, it just sucks that it takes up an inventory slot, that's all. Now, as I mentioned within my pros, this game runs pretty smoothly for me. There's some times where my frames will drop a little bit in certain areas of the map. However, I've never really had an issue where I've dropped anywhere below 60 frames per second. I've always ran the game on the highest graphics above 60 frames per second. That's obviously the lowest it's ever gotten for me, and I thought I'd go ahead and bring it up in this cons section just to remind you that hey, this is an early access game, and there is going to be some issues with optimization, and obviously it will get better over time. It's just something to keep in mind when thinking about spending the $20 on this game. But yeah, that is all the cons and pros that I actually have for this game. Now I'll go ahead and give you my verdict on whether I think you should go ahead and pick up this game for yourself, or if it's something that you should just skip over and go play one of the other survival games that are on the market right now. Personally, I do think this is a game that you guys should definitely go ahead and pick up. It's $20 on Steam, and I think by continuously supporting the developers and giving them, you know, your $20 in order to actually play this game will continue to improve. Now, the one thing I think they should do once this game is obviously out for everyone, in order to keep it alive, is bring out big updates, add new bosses, and just stuff like that in order to keep the game more alive, and in order to give content creators something to talk about here on this game, because obviously right now everyone's going to be, you know, uploading giving their let's plays, going through everything, giving tips and tricks, obviously doing reviews like I am right now, maybe even giving building tutorials and just tutorials in general here in this game. However, once everyone does all of that, I'm not sure exactly how this game is going to live up to what it used to be unless they continuously bring out updates, maybe bring in new biomes, something like the Nether, or I guess something like Hell in order to make it fit the rest of this atmosphere for this game. I just think that would make it a lot better, and if they don't do that, hey, it's not the biggest deal, but I'm just saying, once you finish your core let's play of this game, you probably won't play it as much, because honestly, after you defeat all the bosses, there's not that much to do unless you want to just continuously expand your base, but that is okay as well. Obviously, it's an early access, so there's going to be bugs, but nevertheless, I do think you should go ahead and pick it up and at least give it a try, because it is a really fun survival RPG Viking fantasy game. That's like 4 categories right there and 4 markets that it'll actually appeal to. And personally, I've been playing it over like the last 4 days and I've been having so much fun. So yeah, definitely pick it up for yourself. But that is where I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe if you are new for even more content just like this one. Let me know down in the comments of this video if you want to see other Valheim videos here on this channel, because I've been having a lot of fun playing this game. So if you want to go ahead and see more of me playing it and more of my experiences playing it so far, just let me know and I'll be happy to upload them here on this channel. I might have a couple more videos going up nevertheless on some tips and tricks, so that at least gives you something to subscribe for. And yeah, stay tuned for that. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.